Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long. With me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, and podcasting associate, Jacoby Gloth. How you doing today, Jacoby?
I wish my name was Jacoby. That would be cooler than Jake, but, you know, here I am. Mm-hmm. Just basic old Jake.
Yeah, I feel like if your name was Jacoby, podcast probably be doing better.
If my name was Jacoby Jacobs, I would be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Just from having that name, you know?
100%.
Like, it would just be it right there.
You'd also be a basketball player.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd also have to be, like, you know, a foot taller.
Nah,
but
you wouldn't need to change at all. You would be the exact same person. They're like, that guy's got a basketball player's name. Get him on the Knicks. And then you'd be on the Knicks.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right? Probably.
Yeah, that is actually how it works. They recruit people all solely off of their names. They're like, this is marketable, right? Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. LeBron James. That's a great name. It's a great name to put on
Michael
a T-shirt.
Jordan. We could put this on shoes. Jordan.
We could
people
put
are like,
him in
that's
a
a really
movie
basic
with a
last
running
name.
back.
Nah, it's not. It's real. MJ. Come on.
Yeah, come on. This guy could be in a movie with the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Both them could. Forgot that there was a second Looney Tunes movie, a second Space Jam
You didn't.
movie.
We saw it. We know.
We
what
watched it
happened.
together. It was horrible. It was still quite possibly one
Not
of
like
the
the
worst
first one
movies.
was like a cinematic masterpiece, but it was much better than that.
The first one, at least there was like a vision to it. It was a compromised and ridiculous vision that wasn't very good, but there was vision to it. And the second one just felt
Just
like
a money grab.
it was so gross. I felt gross watching it. I was like, this is so obviously just a marketing like activity. And I'm like, I'm not here for it. They put
All right.
Rick
You know
and
what
Morty in it.
infuriated me about that movie? Near the end, right, when they got the fucking they have the big basketball game to end it, right? That's how the Space Jam 2 ends for the kids at home, right?
Yeah.
And they add the style point thing, and, you know, that's whatever, right? Okay, so we'll say, like, you know, a cool basket's worth more points. And somebody will shoot, and it's like, oh, that's fucking 200 points right there. But then, like, when near the end of the movie, when it's getting, like, close and the numbers are, you know, like, the time's almost out, it starts being like, you know, oh, like, they just did the most ridiculous shot ever. That was better than, like, the 200-point one. And it's only, like, 3 points.
Yeah.
Like, it's just completely arbitrary, the style points. They just got rid of them near the end. Stupid.
Well, there was also a point in which, in the first movie, where Sylvester the cat gets shot with a gun, and he's fine. So I think there's a lot of stuff in that movie they just
that
kind
was
of
Looney
disregard.
Tunes, though. You know, that was okay. The second movie, all
No,
right.
I know,
If you're
I
gonna
get it.
set up this fucking point system, you got to stick to it, all right?
Yeah.
'Cause then, like, the whole illusion that this basketball game has stakes and is going somewhere, it just falls apart for me when you change the rules midway through.
Yeah, and the villain's name was LG Rhythm.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That was terrible.
What's his name?
Don Cheadle.
Machine.
Come on,
Don
get
Cheadle, yeah.
Don Cheadle. You can do better than this. Don't you have enough money from fucking Marvel movies?
Probably.
All right, we
He's
should
like
probably
barely in them though, so
Yeah,
I don't
he
know.
is.
What's your pitch this week?
My
This is
pitch-
no one cares about.
Yeah,
Space
no one
Jam 2.
gives two shits about Space Jam 2. But I have a pitch. It's about two characters going on a road trip through space. Classic, Very Reasonable Pilots pitch setup. All right? It's like 30% of the work done right there. Space road trip. Give me some money, Netflix. Not Netflix. Can we get a better streaming service to give us money? Apple.
Amazon, give us $1 billion. We'll spend $10,000 on the show, and the rest of it will blow on, I don't know, like
Drugs.
Cheetos.
And Cheetos. Drugs and Cheetos.
I was gonna say, you know, something lame like Cheetos.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even spend the money on something worthwhile.
No.
Buy a lot of Pop-Tarts and build a house.
Oh, we could do that. That honestly, I think that would make a better TV show than whatever the fuck we're talking about today. Just a live
Call
stream
it
of
Pop-Tart house. It's just, yeah.
you and me
us
building a
living in the
house
house.
with Pop-Tarts. And every time
And then the sequel's us living in it.
yeah. And it's just like we
Yeah.
both get like horrible sickness because all we eat is Pop-Tarts all day and it's super cold all the time because there's no insulation. Yeah.
Oh.
But this show is about a one Zara Cleaver, an astrogeographer and expert in alien hieroglyphs. Zara has spent the last 50 years working in a condensed wormhole, which means that it's basically this little pocket of space-time in which everything has happened outside of it. Like 50 years have passed within it, or outside of it, but within it, she's just been like not aging. She's just been paused in time, right? And she did this on purpose. This was her thing. She wanted to do, because she doesn't give a shit about like family or her friends. You know, she didn't have any sort of personal relations with anyone that was outside of this little wormhole, so she spent the last 50 years just alone in a room doing her research. And now she's gotten out, she's realized that she's kind of wasted a good chunk of her life doing this, even though she's not aged at all. And so
it's like she hasn't wasted anything, really.
She's not wasted anything, but also all of her friends and family that she knew before she went in are dead now. They've all died or are extremely old, and so she feels kind of remorseful about that. And it's like, I could have spent my life doing something else besides this research that ultimately got her nowhere, because the grant, right, the company that she was doing the research for folded while she was inside the wormhole. And so once she got out, she realized that she had a massive debt from using all of these resources and not having a corporation to sponsor it. And so she has to spend her time, right, selling the research, right? So basically she's now become a freelance researcher who has this big pile of work that she needs to sell. And nobody in this quadrant of space is willing to buy it from her, because it's, 50 years on and people are uninterested in whatever the wormhole science that she was doing, right? Whatever. Yeah. And now she's got a lust for adventure, and so she's decided that she's gonna go travel the universe and sell her research and go on adventure and meet people and, be a normal person, right? Mm-hmm. Our second main character, also pretty much the last character that is reoccurring, is Carlsbad. It's his full name. Carlsbad. A Old West gunslinger who is transported into the far future. We don't get any sort of reasoning why this happened. It's just his backstory is that he was a gunslinger back in the Old West times, and he was flung into the far future, and he's been living and working as a sort of security sort of guy, mercenary style, like every character in any video game ever. He's just like a general mercenary that does work for people. On the edge worlds, which are basically the, planets within the system that have not been consolidated and don't have access to all the crazy technology. So they're a lot more similar to the Old West than you might initially think. Right, so his life hasn't really changed all that much, except for the fact that now he's in space and knows a bunch of space people and aliens and stuff, Okay. But he's this totally badass outlaw gunslinger who's just kind of starting to lose a bit of interest in this life. So, because, he, again, lost everyone and everything he ever knew when he was flung into the far future, and now he spent the last, couple of decades living in the far future, killing people for money, and hasn't really set any roots down, right? So that's how these two characters start. They both are a little sick of what they've been doing, and they don't have anyone else to turn to, right? And then our final character element vehicle is the ship that the two are riding on, which is the Demonstrable, a C-class freighter vessel that has been retrofitted by Cleaver's father to serve as a battle transport and FTL shipping vessel, right? So it was this shitty garbage ship that Zara Cleaver's dad spent his entire life turning into sort of how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have a van that Donatello has retrofitted with all sorts of crazy technology so it can shoot manhole covers and all this stuff? Yeah. Sort of like that. It's this really shitty looking ship, but inside it's got all this crazy technology that lets it outmaneuver battle cruisers and that sort of thing. And it's got
Yeah.
an AI voice, as all of the ships in our shows do. And the AI is, sassy and knowledgeable, but, it's not really as much of a character as Zara and Carl. I'm just gonna call him Carl. So Cleaver is stationed on a satellite bazaar, right? She's just gotten out of her wormhole. She's not really aware of what to do. She doesn't really get it. She's just kind of dejected and sad. And then she goes to this bazaar, which is like kind of this crazy, weird, alien-infested, hyper high advanced technology place for trading and the sort, because I love a big space bazaar. I love it. I love a cantina full of weird monsters that everybody's pissed off about robots and stuff.
Hey, he doesn't like you.
And I don't like you either.
Boom.
Boom.
It was Star Wars.
Wouldn't it have been better if instead of cutting off that guy's arm, Obi-Wan Kenobi had just started making out? Wouldn't that have been better?
It wouldn't have been better if they just shot Luke Skywalker there and the whole trilogy just didn't happen.
That would have been better. But they shot him with a real gun, like a real gun.
Yeah, and it just hard cuts to this is Breaking Bad. Walter White's here.
Yeah,
it's a show now. It's not a movie. You came to the movie theater. Well, it sucks to be you. You're actually in your living room.
60 hours of a television show. You can't leave. You have to stay here and piss your pants.
We lock the doors.
Yeah. But she's gone to this bazaar to try and sell her research to a local warlord, because that's how far she's fallen, She's no longer even trying to sell her research to high-end corporations or, like, independent research firms right now. They won't look at it because they're just uninterested. They think she's a kook, right? So she's fallen so far as to have to sell her research to a warlord who will undoubtedly use it to kill, murder, and conquer hundreds of people all over the system. And she's like pretty sad about it, but also she's doing what she needs to do. Yeah. Takes it to the warlord, and she's fumbling over herself trying to make the pitch for her research to be purchased, and she's not really very charismatic. She doesn't talk very well, and the warlord's totally uninterested, and he's like, "Get this lady out of here. I don't want to hear from her." And she gets thrown out along with all her research. And so she's at a bar, just drinking, being sad, being dejected, when a couple of the
fixing her pages, he probably threw all the pages out with her, and she's got to like reorganize it. Like, oh my God, there's like 400 pages here, and now they're all out of order.
Lots of folders, manila folders, paper clips. She's probably got a pencil in a bun in her hair, that sort of situation. She's not doing so hot, right? And so she's there, and a couple of the guards who are working for the warlord see her at the bar, and they decide to start, fucking with her. They mess her up. She's just gotten her papers reshuffled and organized, and they like hit it out of her hand, like real high school bully level shit, And to this, our lovely gunslinger Carlsbad sees this, and he's like, I'm from the old motherfucking West. I don't just let a lady be bullied by a couple of goons. Maybe it's been like 30 years since I was, in Tennessee, but from where I come from, we don't let stuff like that slide. And so he fucks them up, right? Blows a guy's foot off, maybe slams another guy, his face right into a shot glass, and he gets the shot glass in his eye. So it's like the Penguin in the Arkham games, where he's got like whatever those things are called, a one glass, but stuck in there because it's a shot glass in his eye.
A monocle. Wait.
Yeah.
What's
a monocle.
There we go.
Monocle. Yeah, he's got a monocle, but it's a shot glass, and he's like, oh, fuck. I really fucked those guys up. And she's like, oh my God, this guy's a real time heavy-hitting killer. I could use him, right? We could go on adventures, and we could get me to the other side of the galaxy. Because on the other side of the galaxy, there is someone I am almost positive will buy my research. Because we, worked together 50 years back, and this person has spent the last 50 years, building their brand and their corporation, that sort of thing, right? And so she's like, this dude'll help us out, right? And obviously it's the future, so he's not aged very much because, it's been 50 years, but he's also got technology. And so Carlsbad is like, she offers this situation to him. She's like, hey, if you come work for me and help me get across the galaxy, I can guarantee you a huge payout. And he's like thinking about it, and he's like, I don't know, I kind of, like it here. And just as he's thinking about it, a loan shark, who Carlsbad owns money to because he's a gambler, walks in with, a crowbar and 2 goons with shotguns. And he sees this, and he's like, fuck, I can't stay here. And sure, let's go. And so they kind of do this quick escape where Cleaver is excited because she's never been chased by goons before. Carlsbad is not as excited because he's, he owes these guys money, like a lot of money. And so they're running through the streets. It's a fun, bizarre chase scene, like an Indiana Jones might do, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
There's a melon salesman. Carlsbad kicks out one of the stands of the melon stand, right? One of the, things that holds up the melon stand, kicks it out, the melons fall down, one lands on a guy's head, and now he's wearing a melon on his head.
Oh.
Haha, classic adventuring comedy, right? And the episode ends with them getting on the ship and making a quick escape. Yeah. But not before the loan shark is able to attach a small transmitter to the back of the ship. So,
oh no.
That's at end of episode 1. It's a fun, light, breezy episode that lets you know the kind of the tone that the show's going for. So the episode 2 begins. They're headed. They're flying, and Carlsbad looks at the supplies that she has in the demonstrable, and the first thing he says is this terrible name for a ship. And she's like, the ship's like, yeah, I know, it's a terrible fucking name for me, but she named me, and she loves big words. That's one of Cleaver's, one of her character traits is she needs people to know how smart she is, and so she names her ship a big long word just to annoy people. And the longest word I could come up with was demonstrable. So maybe if you want to think of another long word, that's fine too.
Okay. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, you better. And so he looks at the stock in the ships, and they're in the ship, and he's like, this is shit. You have maybe enough food to last a day, if that, right? You don't have enough fuel, all that stuff. And then that's when Cleaver explains to him that the fuel is actually a condensed wormhole, very similar to the one that she was inside of for those 50 years, but it's done in such a way that it uses the, kind of time-altering energy to power the ship, right? I'm only telling you this.
Okay, I've got the word.
Okay, what is it?
Sesquipedalian.
Sesquipedalian. I like that. What's it mean?
It means if it means overly long, confusing word.
That's funny. Sesquipedalian. I like that a lot.
It essentially just means that it's a long-winded word. Mm-hmm. Sesquipedalian, It's kind of a cool ship name too, Sesquipedalian.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a cryptid, Like the Sesquipedalian and the I don't know, Chupacabra got into a fight. That sort of a thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you'd use it if someone's book was really long-winded, you'd say it's a very Sesquipedalian.
I like that. I'm gonna use that word in my life.
Yeah, you'll probably forget it in 5 minutes.
What?
What were we talking about?
Okay, so they decide Carlsbad's like, all right, I know a person around here, right? Because I worked on these edge worlds for a while. I know a guy who would be able to help us and get us some supplies, and he owes me a favor. So let's go in for a visit, right? And this is a more classic Firefly style episode where it's definitely a space western, this episode.
Yeah.
Because they get there, Carlsbad's old friend he's now the mayor of this town, and the town is running on hard times. right? And Carlsbad's initially is like, I don't give a shit. Like, give me what I'm owed, and I'll get out of your hair.
Yeah.
And his friend is like, hey, he tries to at first play into Carlsbad's like his empathy and his humanity, and that's not really a good way to do it with this guy. This guy doesn't really give a shit about anyone or anything, right? He's a real loner type cynic. And so they're like, I'll give you some more money and some better supplies if you are able to help us. And so they reluctantly agree. Zara is more excited about it because she, wants adventure and the fun, cool stuff. And Carlsbad's kind of sick of that stuff at this point. And so they find out that this town has an ongoing conflict with these mysterious mechanical army that has been just arriving out of the desert, This army of like pseudo-alien, pseudo-biological robots that have been just like attacking them at night, And so they're like, all right, we'll see what we can do. Do we know where they're coming from? Well, they're coming from this local ruin, but no one's been able to decipher what is written in the ruin. No one can figure out what the ruin's for, so we can't figure out how to turn off the robots. Now, if you remember from our initial character introductions, Zara is an expert in alien hieroglyphs, so she is very excited about this. She's like, oh yeah, my first real adventure, and I already get to use my super special skills. Let's do this. And then most of the episode is them gathering a posse of fellow adventurous people and deciding to go to the ruin. They set out in the morning and they get to the ruin by midday, and they set up camp, and Zara begins deciphering everything that is that they're supposed to be doing, deciphering the alien hieroglyphics. And she's like, we need to go in. So this is probably a bad idea, but Carlsbad, Zara, and a few others decide to delve deep into the ruins just as nightfall begins, right? If I remember, and if you remember properly, the robots only come out at night. So it is a very dangerous situation. So they get in there, there's a bunch of robot fighting, we gotta kill some robots, that sort of thing, And Zara is able to figure out, by putting together basically what's been going on through the hieroglyphs, that this ruin, they thought initially it was some sort of a temple or a religious, building of some sort. It was actually just a home. It was like a really big home, like an alien Elon Musk has a mansion, right? This is that mansion. And these robots, who were initially thought to be some sort of like guardians of this temple, were actually just his own private security force. And so he would deploy them at night in order to keep his house safe, right? They're just basically, it's like a Roomba with a knife taped to it, guarding your house.
Yeah.
Like they're really they're pretty dumb in comparison to what this ancient society was capable of. So Zara is able to reprogram the robots, making them think that they initially thought the town was full of invaders, but now with the reprogramming, they think that the town is their new home and that they must protect it, right? So that's the end of this episode. They do a good deed, and Carlsbad's like, you know what, Zara, you're not that bad. I thought you were just some sort of a green moron who spent the last 50 years living in a hole in the ground, but you've got some skills. I'll give you that. You've got some skills, And so they get all their things, and it's a happy ending. This is one of the episodes with a happy ending, which is nice, I think, for a good episode too. And they get on their ship with their new supplies, and they're just like, fucking pachow, and they leave. Fuck off. Back off to space to fly across the galaxy. Episode 3. Big crazy episode. This is going to be the episode that has the most fistfights in it, alright? If there is an episode of this show that is like Daredevil, and that there's going to be a hallway fight or 150 hallway fights, it's going to be this episode. There's going to be so many hallway fights, it'll be great. So they're flying across the galaxy, as you do, And they're like, you know what? We're doing pretty good. And as soon as they think that they're safe and happy, a ship of, well, marauders, space thieves, almost a space pirate crew comes upon them, and they decide, well, shit, they're space pirates. Hopefully they don't come near them. But these space pirates actually have a boss, unlike many space pirates. Can you take a guess at who that boss would be?
Is it me?
It's Jake.
Am I the boss?
You can play the boss, because the boss is the loan shark from the Space Bazaar.
Oh, who would have thought?
And they've been following the signal of the tracking device since they left, and they've just recently caught up to them. And so the space pirates, they board, they kidnap Zara, they take Carlsbad down to the hole to kill him and torture him and stuff, because that's what pirates do. And she's, trapped up on the bridge with the loan shark, and the loan shark begins to inform Zara a bit about Carlsbad's past, about how the fact that he was an Old West cowboy back from the 1800s, and he's been sent into the far future, and he's lived all the stuff we've already gone over. And so this episode is mostly just Zara getting explanation dump and having a conversation with the loan shark as Carlsbad. I have written here, Carl has to go full John Wick to save her and the ship. So in this episode, Carlsbad goes full John Wick and just starts killing everybody, in really cool, fast ways. This is an action-heavy episode. We could have some witty dialogue, of course, because what is a Very Reasonable Pilots podcast show without witty dialogue? Mm-hmm. It's just a normal one of our shows, I would say.
Yeah, it's just a normal. Yeah, it's just the average.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of witty dialogue, mostly because there's not a lot of dialogue in a pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he goes full John Wick / the Mariner from Waterworld, and he's just like hiding in the ship, killing people, doing Rambo stuff where he's like hiding in the blackness of the ship, and then the pirates walk past and he opens his eyes real dramatic like and like slits their throat with a knife and throws another knife, uses a hammer in a hallway, old boy style. It's a whole thing. And then he gets up to the bridge to save Zara, and he's like, fully all decked out. He's covered in blood. He's got like a knife. One of his hands is like sliced open, and he's just duct taped it closed. All the stuff. He's got the gun taped to his back like John McClane. All the fun sci-fi stuff. And he gets up there, and Zara has negotiated a deal with the loan shark.
Oof.
And so she's like, hey, Carlsbad, we just figured out how we can get out of this easy peasy. We just have to give him, so he's just, he's going to buy some of my research for a very reduced price. And then the loan shark is like, wait, Carl, what are you doing here? Aren't you, is that blood? Are you, oh no. And then just as he does it, Carlsbad shoots him in the stomach because he doesn't care. And he's like, I don't give a shit. Let's leave. Let's take all their shit and go.
He could have some stupid line that doesn't make sense, like, wait, is it Jimmy's blood? Is that my son's blood on your arm? Like, how would he know that's his blood?
No, it's not.
But maybe Carlsbad's like, wait. Carl's like, it's not. It's like, don't worry about it. We're like, wait, how do you know that?
Is it a different color? I feel like it's the same. Bang, dead. Doesn't care. He's not happy about it. And Zara's kind of like, she's a little horrified because she figured out how to solve this problem without violence. But Carlsbad's like, well, guess what? You hired me. When I'm around, there's going to be a reasonably large amount of violence. Get over it. They get back on the...
That's the name of the show, Reasonably Large Amount of Violence.
Reasonably large violence. Let's do that.
Amount of violence. Yeah.
That's
way too long of a title.
Nah, but I kind of love it, though. I hadn't thought of a title. I think Reasonably Large Amount of Violence is a pretty good title.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah. But yeah, and then they get on the ship and they fuck off, right? That's end of episode 3. Episode 4, so there's an engine problem caused by the pirates. They fucked with the engine. So as they're leaving, the wormhole containment field breaks, and the ship is jump-skipped through time to the end of the universe, as we like to do. So they're gonna go to this bar that's at the end of the universe, right? That's where the ship jumps them, is they're in a bar that's at the end of the universe. And they get there, and there's just a bunch of people in this bar, and they're all characters from our previous shows. So there's the wizard from that one episode I can't remember the name of, that I wrote. The one with the full-on pilot, part of the script written.
All that stuff you did, and you can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. Entropy.
Entropy, the death of all things.
Yeah. So there's going to be the wizard from Entropy of Death of All Things. Isaac Illich is going to be there. Just not explained. No one, we're not going to mention it. He's just going to be there. Jimmy King's going to be there, right? That you did a show about somebody going from the end of the universe back in the past to like get news stories, and they fucked with historical figures, right?
Transtemporal times. I don't know the name of the character.
I don't either, but he's gonna be there. Then we're just gonna it's gonna be a big reference fest, and it's gonna be great. And they get there, and every single one of the crazy space adventurers that is in the bar is gonna tell them, just give it up. Just, it's not a good way to do. You're stuck here now. Sit down, have a drink, and wait for the universe to end. And they're kind of like, I kind of don't want to do that because I don't want to die here. But also, what are we going to do? You know, so this episode, because the last episode was super heavy on action and violence, this episode's going to be mostly dialogue of people sitting in the bar having conversations. Zara and Carlsbad talking, and they talk to the bartender, and they talk to some other characters, that sort of thing. And a mysterious elderly woman overhears their conversation and decides, you know what, I can help. And so she goes out and she begins fixing up the ship with Zara, and it's like, oh my god, this woman knows so much, you know? Like, I would never have thought of that in 100 years or something. You know?
Yeah.
And so they work it and they get it fixed up, and it's revealed that the elderly woman who is helping them out is actually an elderly version of Zara who did give up. And she stayed at the bar at the end of the universe, and she's been there for decades. Right? And so they're kind of like both a little shocked and horrified by this revelation. And, you know, they're like, get out and, you know, I'll cease to exist because, you know, by helping you fix the ship, I've erased the timeline that I'm from. So, go. But that's actually a lie. She is from the same timeline as this. This has always happened. They've always come back and met an elderly version of Zara. And so Zara stops Carlsbad as he's getting on the ship, and she tells him, do not trust me. Like, do not trust Zara. Do not trust what she is telling you. She's lying to you. You know? And that's the final thing that she says before he gets on the ship and he fucks off. You know? And it's a kind of a mysterious, spooky ending. Ooh. Spooky.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the final episode I have written down, the actual, like, full thought-out pitch, is kind of a self-contained horror episode. I think we would do it on Halloween, which is our two main characters, they stumble upon this floating wreck of a ship that's just out in space, and they're like, we should investigate. Maybe there's people on there we could help, or maybe there's some shit that we could take from them, right? And so they go up on the ship, and they find just, like, corpses after just so many corpses. And they're just like, what's going on? There's all these people, like, paraded up like marionettes. It's fucking horrifying, you know? They get there, they investigate, and they find one crewmate still alive. And they're this, like, crazed lunatic. Like Ben from Treasure Island. If you've read that book or seen that movie or anything. Just this guy who's been living alone by himself, along with the, like, bodies of his former, friends and family, right? And he's just lost it. And so these three kind of get together and they begin like forming a plan because this crazed crewmate is like, let's just call him Ben for short. Ben is like, I want to get off the ship as soon as possible. Help me out, right? And they're like, okay, we'll help you out. And Ben tells them there is this creature, this sort of an alien being stalking the ship. That's the thing that killed all of my fellow crewmen, right? We need to find this thing and kill it, you know? And so they begin this kind of a Scooby-Doo-esque wandering around the ship, splitting up, looking for clues, that sort of a thing. And Zara and Ben go out in one way to look for something. Carlsbad goes another way. And he's investigating, he's searching, and he stumbles upon the med bay, and there's this enormous creature there, just like this rotting, decaying, dead body of a horrible alien monster, right? That, you know, maybe it has some blood on it, maybe it's got a few kills under its belt, but this thing has been dead for a while. Like, less time than the corpses have been dead, right? The corpses are fresher than this alien thing. And so Carlsbad realizes that Ben hasn't been trapped here by an alien monster, that he's just gone insane and used the alien monster as an excuse to lure more helpful travelers into the ship, into the bowels of the ship to kill them, right?
Oh, baby.
So it's bad. So then, you know, the episode ends with Carlsbad running through the ship. It's super, you know, tense and stuff. And he, you know, we'll obviously do some fun editing that as he figures it out. You know, Ben is standing over Zara with like a spear or something, or a big hammer or something like that. And then we'll cut away and make it seem like, oh, he got her. But actually, he didn't. Zara shot him, because she's fucking smart as hell.
Oh,
and
shit.
So
a lot of twists here.
Yeah, she knows. She's figured it out as well. You know, that he's, because of like inconsistencies in his story, that Carlsbad didn't notice, because he's not really a space guy, the same way that she's a space gal. And so it's, you know, that's how the episode ends, with them both being like, maybe we shouldn't be so trusting of people, but also maybe, who cares, right? Life goes on. Fuck it. And so they, you know, they get back on the ship and they leave. And then we, you know, obviously this show is very open-ended format-wise, so you can do pretty much anything as they're traveling from one end of the galaxy to another, you know. So that's the episode ideas that I have so far. And then I have an ending of the show in which they get to the planet that they wanted to go to. And Zara is able to have a meeting with her former colleague who has become super successful and wealthy, and it's like the colleague is like, this is crap. This is bullshit what you've done. The 50 years you wasted on this research is meaningless. You know, science has been moving forward, right? And you've just stayed in the same place. Everything's been moving forward, and you're not at all. Why would I buy this? Like, here's $20 for the bus ride home. Like, get the fuck out of my office, basically. And so Zara, despondent, disappointed, you know, as she was at the beginning of the season, goes to Carlsbad and tells him, I'm sorry I lied. You know, there's no other way to get you to follow me, you know. But here's the $20 I got for the bus. This is the best I can do. And Carlsbad's like, I know you lied. You told me. It's okay. You know, like, I spent my whole life just working for money. That I'm glad that I found someone that I can enjoy working with. And so they're both, it's like sweet, it's nice. And so they both decide to end it the same way it began, in a bar. And they go down to a local dive bar and they get themselves some drinks. And just as they're cheersing to you know, future adventures and further fun and working together, they take a drink and then they look outside and a massive alien army has just fucking teleported into the airspace, and they're like, oh shit, there's an invasion of space people. Fuck me.
Everyone dies.
And then end of season 1. It's going to be revealed in Season 2 that this is not actually an alien army. It is from the future, and they're using the engines developed by Zara Cleaver in order to travel back in time, right? That's how our inventions come into play in this universe. But that's how Season 1 ends. That's the end of the show I've written. It's a bit of fun.
It was.
A reasonable amount of violence.
Was that?
Was that
I thought it was a reasonably large amount of violence.
Yeah, a reasonably large amount of violence. That is a good title. I like that a lot. A reasonably large amount of violence. Yeah, that's
That was good. It was fun. I like road trip space shows, you know.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with a fun little road trip.
Little road trip, little space, a little bit of sci-fi gobbledygook. It's fun. All right, well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Goloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, and enjoy the 4 extra minutes that you have today because we had a little bit of a shorter episode. And
it's still 45 minutes here, so
yeah,
you know,
it's not that much shorter.
You didn't really get that much time back.
Yeah, but enjoy what you can. Have an extra long
We're cutting into it now too, which isn't helping. Yeah. It's just continually going. Still pushing here.
I assume no one listens to this while using the toilet. And if you do listen to this while using the toilet, shame on you, sir. Or madam.
Your voice helps me poop.
It helps me poop.
Relax the
sphincter.
The muscles.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
It's because your voice is at such an interesting pitch, you know, such a grating pitch that it revulses the muscles, or repulses the muscles.
It makes your body want to expel as much fluid as possible. Which
you ever see, like, in TV shows, like usually animated shows, obviously, when like someone has really bad breath and they breathe on someone.
Yeah.
Or like they breathe on a flower and the flower like curls back and like dies.
Yeah.
That's what you do to our listeners.
Oh, good.
Sphincters.
Sphincters. Nice.
Yep.
The sphincter, I don't know.
Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, the #1 rated laxative by medical professionals.
I think we would honestly do pretty well if we got a doctor to say this helped you poop. We'd probably get more listens.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your shit.
I'm gonna start contacting doctors.
Contact some very disreputable doctors.
4 to 5 doctors recommend the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast if you're having trouble with your bowel movements.
If you're
Are you feeling constipated, you should check out the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast.
They'll talk about nonsense.
Side effects include becoming a worse person,
boredom,
wasting time, boredom,
imagining all these TV shows that won't get made.
Yep. Disappointment.
Very okay. Well, you guys, we took those 4 minutes back, so good.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Stay safe out there.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.